What interested you in the film, the subject matter specifically?
Oh, it was a huge, an epic event in American history, but yet a small and very human story that really nobody knew of, and very few people are taught in school, and it is the premise of the company to find these major events in history, and in a way that's not unlike, say, for studios which seek brands like comic books or remakes or major literary properties or TV brands and all of that, to find sort of characters from our past that we're familiar with, that people can connect to. We're looking for those events in history, and yet looking to tell a story that the people don't know. And hoping, obviously many people do know this, but it's not really taught in schools and not really even taught in colleges.
No, you're right. I mean, this is at least this part of the story is not something that I was aware of before the film or before reading about it. What actually got you involved with the American Film Company? This is their first film. I would say it's a pretty landmark first film, pretty impressive. So
it was Joe Ricketts' brainchild to have a company that would focus on American history and be historically accurate. And I and the three total founding executives who sort of put together this process of collecting scripts that had been previously written so that we would not develop original screenplays, but look to Hollywood, do this archaeological dig of American history-based screenplays that have already been written, in which we could find something that spoke to our mandate. And then also, this was one of the very first scripts we read, probably one of the first 25 out of several hundred that we went through. And probably within the first 200 was also what we expect to be our second film, which is called Midnight Riders.
Midnight Riders? Okay, what's that about?
Paul Revere, William Dawes, and the spark of the American Revolution set in Boston.
Oh, wow. It's quite impressive that you guys got to work with Robert Redford. What was that like, in obtaining him, and what specifically did you do to spark his interest in the film?
I think it felt like an extraordinary long shot, but the agency that represents him, CAA, thought he might really connect with the material. He read the script within a couple of weeks. Certainly the person who heads his company did, loved it, recommended it to him, and he got back very shortly thereafter, said he found the screenplay absolutely mesmerizing.
Wow.
And it was, that was the beginning.
And what do you hope that, obviously it gives me a better sense of history and kind of what shapes our nation, but what are your thoughts in terms of, we say life, liberty, and the pursuit of justice for all, and yet you see a film like this and you realize that, I think the one line that says it, in times of war, the law goes out the door, and, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you feel as though this is going to help us learn from our mistakes? Or?
It already has. I don't think our intention is to affect in any way the process, but to let us understand that this is not the first time that this has occurred. This has occurred, history does repeat itself, and hopefully we already have and did learn our lessons such that it already has affected the judicial process and the military commissions. One of the historical advisors on the film, a Colonel Fred Bork, was deeply involved in the formulation of the military commissions, and is a specialist in Lincoln assassination and those criminal trials. But I think the lessons have already been learned, but it's interesting to be able to look back into our history and see these things have occurred previously.
Great. And my last question is, what do you feel that if Abraham Lincoln were here today, how do you think he would view our government system? Do you think he would think it's very different from the way it was back when he was president, or do you think it's improved? Do you think what are your thoughts? What do you think, knowing, kind of having spent the time investigating his story, what do you think his thoughts are on government today?
I think the government today, I think he'd be proud of government today. I think the question is, did he and would he have regretted his suspension of habeas corpus at the time, early in the Civil War, and how it might have affected that trial of his own, of his assassins and those conspirators. Would he have believed that it should have been a civilian trial, or basically a military commission at the time? That's sort of where the historical question sort of is most interesting.
No, you're right, and I appreciate your time. Do you mind spelling your last name for me? Or?
Stone, S-T-O-N-E.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
You know, I've heard so many names.
It's a smart thing to do.
Yeah,
Would you like to take a picture?
I would love to, actually.
Thank you.